Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, StrangeNet here. So today I'm going to be talking about BPOs and how you can make an absolute truckload of ISK by researching them and selling them on the open market, what to look for, how to calculate your profits, and all that good stuff. So the advantages of BPOs and researching BPOs is that it is pretty much the single most passive income stream that you can find in EVE. People will tell you PI or AFK, Ishtar, ratting. Nope, 100% BPOs are the way forward if you want to make a decent amount of ISK over a long period of time with very little to pretty much zero input over that time. Now, with most things in EVE, obviously you have a limited number of these that you can do per character, and that is maxed out to 11. This has gotten through the laboratory operations and the advanced laboratory operation. If you're going to be doing this hardcore, then obviously 11 is the way to go, but there is quite a considerable training time investment in order to get that to 11. So I would generally recommend 9 to 10 if you're just getting started. Yeah, you don't really need to max it out. But again, if you want to do this obviously more hardcore, then 11 it is. So at the moment, I'm making around 700 million ISK a day doing research on BPOs. Do bear in mind, though, this is across multiple characters over multiple accounts. But again, it's something that I've done for a very long time. And it's a very nice way of making some income. And again, especially from slots that may not necessarily be used or utilized elsewhere, there's not a great deal you can do with the science area unless you're doing invention and that. So if they're just laying idle, then I highly recommend obviously getting them used. Even if you're not making a huge amount of ISK, anything is better than nothing if you've got that ISK initially to invest. Because obviously if you buy BPOs can be quite expensive. So you do need a little bit of investment up front, and you will need some ISK in order to be able to fund the actual research itself. But once you've got going, that's pretty much it. So the importance generally of things that you're looking for is how much it costs to buy the blueprint, how long it's going to take to research, how much it's going to cost to research, and how much can you sell it for once it's been fully researched. Now, there is a premium generally on fully researched BPOs. There's often the question of, well, why don't you just do it yourself? But there's a multitude of different reasons why sometimes you just want to buy it straight off the market, fully researched, get it done, get it into production of whatever it is that you want to be doing. And in the future, potentially, if you want to, you can sell it elsewhere once you've used it. So people don't mind generally buying fully researched BPOs as long as they're not an extortionate price or markup on them. Now, some ships, we're going to be looking at ships predominantly here, and some ships are not native to the space that you will be in. So for instance, at the moment we are in Caldari space. The Mauler is not native to Caldari space, it is an Amar cruiser, and you will find that generally something that is imported from elsewhere is more expensive, and you can generally tell these are imported because they only have the 90 days tops. And yeah, let me do an example of one that is native. Where are we? The Moa. And again, you've got the expiry date, which is over the 90 days, which means it is an NPC sell order. So these are being sold by the NPCs directly themselves. And you can see here the price it's the same type of ship, so they should cost exactly the same in BPO price. But again, this is 12 million ISK cheaper than the Mauler, and that's because no one's had to import this halfway across the galaxy in order to sell it in jitter. So you will pay a markup for some ships. You can obviously go to Amar or wherever the ship is, buy it, bring it back to wherever you want to obviously research it. But again, you can either pay somebody the premium for doing that, or you can do it yourself, which is obviously time that you're going to need to invest and the dangers of transporting potentially expensive BPOs across the galaxy. So for this, we're going to have a look at the Mighty Moa. So let's scroll down. Again, the BPOs will generally be at the bottom if you've got it sorted by price order. You can see here we've got a 1020. Always hover over it because it does say 1020 there, but it doesn't always mean that it is. We're looking at the writing on the left-hand side where it says 1020. See, and that's going for 135. This person may just be desperately fire sailing to get rid of this, and they may have acquired it through interesting means. or it could just be that they're happy with the amount of profit from doing this and that this is the price that they're willing to sell it for. The next one for 1020 is 150, and then after that we are looking at 195. So we'll do it on the assumption that we're going to try and sell it for 150 million ISK. And in order to do that, we need to take the mower, take the BPO, put it into industry. Now, I do a lot of my stuff at Tama. Distance may vary depending where you're doing it, but again, this will give you a rough idea of how to work things out. All the way up to 10, because that's 10 ME, and then we'll do it for T as well, but it works out pretty much that it will be the same, give or take. And we can see here that in order to get it to our 1020, or 10 initially in the ME, it's going to cost us, in Tama, it's going to cost us 29 million ISK. So plus 29 million, and then it's going to be the same for the TE. So another 30 million on top is 142 million ISK. Never mind any kind of taxes or sales after that. So that's going to make us 8 million ISK over the course of, what, 64 days? I'll work that out just for the giggles here. That's 125,000 ISK per day. And we're going to divide that by the hour. So we're making 5,000 ISK per hour doing that. So that's not a great BPO to be looking at. It's horrifically underpriced for what it is. If it was more at the... let's have a look at how much it would be at the 195. So, what was 83 million for the BPO, plus 30 for the ME, plus 30 for the TE. Minus 195 gives us 52 million ISK. Over the 64 days is 812,000 ISK per day. Divide that by over 24 hours. So per hour we're making 33,800. That's a bit more reasonable. I can live with that. Somewhat. So what was it? Still a little on the low side for what I'd be wanting. Let's have a look at the Vexer. I wanted to call it an Ishtar. I was struggling then for a second. So he's going for 248 at current. Now do bear in mind, obviously, these prices do fluctuate depending on how many people are looking for BPOs, how many people are researching, and the rest of it. But again, the more you play around in the markets, the more you get a feel for roughly how much things sell for. And again, the Vexer, assuming we've imported it, is going to cost us 83 million ISK. And again, it's going to be exactly the same for the research. So another 30 million for the ME, 30 million for the TE. Is 143 million ISK minus what it's selling for gives us 107 million ISK. Divide that by the 64 days gives us 1.6 million ISK per day. Divide that by 24 equals about 70k. Now I like to aim for about the 70 to 100k mark when I'm doing it. Obviously more is better, less is worse. But that's, I generally won't do it unless it's 70,000 ISK per hour, because for me it's not worth it, and I can find BPOs that are worth it. So, you know, look around for decent deals. And again, you can do, the smaller you go, generally the less profit there is to be made. So let's have a look at the Corex, for instance. It's not always the case. So this is what, 49 million ISK. Let's have a look at this in industry itself. So again, we're going to be doing it in Tama. Tama's cheap, that's why I do it in Tama. It's dangerous to get to those, so again, what's going on here? I need to view the market, and then I need to put it into the market. Right, so back to Tama. So bearing in mind, Tama is one of the most dangerous systems in the whole of EVE, so again, if you're not particularly experienced in low sec and the rest of it, then I wouldn't use Tama personally if I was you. But again, if you're happy with traversing low sec and the rest of it, then obviously Tama is great. It's low price due to it being faction warfare. It's quick because it's a Sotio, and it is in low sec, so you do get bonuses from the rigs. With that said, 8 million ISK for the BPO. 3 million ISK to research the ME, and again it's pretty much the same for the TE, which gives us 14 million, and it was selling for what was it, 49 mil or 40, 44? I think it was 44. No, 49 minus 49 mil gives us 35 million ISK profit over 24 days. So that would be times 2, because again it's the same amount of time for the ME as it is for the TE. Again, give or take a day or two, but it's pretty much the same depending on rigs. So what, over 48 gives us 729 million ISK over the day, divided by 24, 30k ISK. Better than the mower, worse than the Vexer. The nice thing about industry, or this type of industry, is the fact that it can be scaled quite well. So once you've put it in, for this one, you don't have to touch it again. You buy your BPO, you take it to the station you intend to research it at, and then you click start. And that'll take 24 days where you don't have to do anything. There's no messing around, there's no fiddling around, nothing. That's it. I can't remember what it was for the cruisers offhand. I think, let's have a look. Instead of thinking, let's show specifics. Again, 32 days. You can only do, it might actually let you for 32 days, but 31 days is usually the max that you can do it in one setting. However, with certain skills, it can all be done remotely. So once you get your BPOs to the destination, you don't even have to fly there. So basically, you set it for your 9, which will take you 13 days. Then when obviously your 9's up, your 13 days is up, you then change it to the last ME, which will add the extra days on. So we're looking at another 10 days on top, taking you or rounding you off to the 32. Once you've got the skills, once you've got the BPOs in place, you pretty much, it's a 30-second job to obviously keep a tab on the jobs, how long that's left. Once it's done, you click remote complete, and then basically just put them back in and you finish off the research. And again, then you change over to your TE and you do exactly the same. And that makes it pretty passive. And again, it makes it pretty much one of the most passive income streams that you can have. And again, you could argue that obviously research agents are more passive, but let's face it, research agents have the worst ratio for ISK income out of anything in the entire game. So yeah, been researching for 10 years and you make like 200 million ISK. Yay, wow, great. BPOs, on the other hand, make a decent amount of ISK for very, very little effort. What you are doing is you are adding value with time, and you are also taking the risk, i.e. moving them from place to place involves risk. The fact that obviously you can be ganked en route is risky if you don't take the right precautions, and the fact that if you are putting it in a player-owned structure and that structure is attacked and destroyed, that the research time, or depending if it's got a core in, if it doesn't have a core or doesn't have fuel, then you're going to lose your BPOs. Otherwise, it goes into asset safety. You will lose the research and the money that you've invested on that research, but you will get the BPOs back, but you will have to break them out of asset safety. So there is a risk involved in obviously BPOs. And obviously, depending on the size of the BPO that you're doing, that risk increases quite dramatically. If you're doing capital BPOs, if you're only doing smaller BPOs, then obviously that risk is limited somewhat. So let's have a look. Let's see what we are looking at in regards to overall value and prices. So the Vexer, still want to call it an Ishtar, the Vexer was 83 million, and it was costing what, 30 mil for each of the research, and then it was 250 mil, which gave us 107 million ISK, divided by, what was it, 64? So 160, gosh, it's twice I've done that. 1.6 million ISK per day. Bearing in mind you've got 11 slots. 18 million ISK per day, not bad. Bearing in mind you have 2 characters on each account. So times that by 3 is 55 million ISK per day, and the vast majority of us have at least 2 accounts. So times 2, you could be making quite easily 110 million ISK a day by doing the research over 6 characters on 2 accounts. It doesn't take a huge amount of investment in regards to points, minus obviously some of that if you're not willing to go to 11 science jobs for each character. But again, still a decent amount of ISK for very, very low effort. Now, again, that can be scaled. Different BPOs have obviously different values, so use it accordingly. Some of them will make vastly more, some of them will make less. It's up to you how much your time is worth and how much your slots are worth and what you're willing to do it for. Again, if they're just sat idle, you're not using them at all, then any ISK is better than no ISK. Obviously, you will tie ISK up by buying the BPOs and then obviously listing them to sell. Sometimes it takes a while to sell. Sometimes they sell out instantly. Just depends on how the market is, what people are looking for. And at the very worst case scenario, you might not make any profit and you may end up selling it for what you initially bought it for. It's very rare that that happens. Again, it's like on super capitals, Titan BPOs, that seems to be more the case. The huge ticket items, the smaller items, unless they've been horrifically nerfed or somebody's got a huge stash cache of them all of a sudden for no apparent reason apart from stealing them, then yeah, you are very rarely ever going to lose ISK on doing this. And that is why I generally do it across the vast majority of the characters that I have. And it is time consuming, so that's a bonus. The fact that you don't have to go back to it particularly often. Keep a rough eye on it, write it down, have a spreadsheet with a timer countdown, do whatever you want, check it when you log in, etc. But again, it's very little work for a good amount of return. So say we've got 110 million ISK there for pretty much clicking a few buttons every, 20, 30, 20 days, however long it takes. And again, you've got smaller BPOs, again, for life supports and things like that can be very, very profitable. Some of the most profitable, to be perfectly honest, but hey-ho. Have a look round. It doesn't have to be ships. It can be modules, it can be drones, it can be weapons. Again, they're all I'd stay away from the super small items that don't take a particularly long time to research. You'll find most of the time, let's have a look, just on the off chance. So these are going for 5 million ISK. It costs how much to buy? 100k, so you're making 5 million ISK. I bet these take about 10 seconds to research. Just to give you a rough idea. Stay away from the things that are really super quick, unless, again, 2 days, 1 day for ME, 1 day for TE. It's cost you 100k, 5 million ISK, 2 days, 2.5 million ISK. It's not bad going over 2 days, 1.2 million ISK. So yeah, play around. Again, obviously the higher you go, the less, the slower the market can be, the smaller. Again, I'd stay away from, again, find popular items, think about what you use in your day-to-day life in EVE, and then go from there, research them. Ships are always half decent, people are always after ships. Modules, things that can be turned into Tech 2 items are usually pretty decent. So again, use your own discretion, look through the market. It's part of the fun of finding the things that you're looking for and trying to find them diamonds in the rough. But with that, I think we'll wrap up there. Again, I can't recommend high enough doing BPO research. It's a great way of making lots of passive income. Again, I make about 700 million ISK per day from this, assuming everything sells at the price that I expect it to sell at. But I pretty much know that it will. It's just a matter of just being patient. And just biding your time, and sometimes, yeah, you have to list things after they've expired, but who cares? Again, it's a 10-second job. So with that, thanks for your time, thanks for listening. I hope that was helpful. If you're not doing it, get out there, get it done, make some ISK. I'll talk to you again soon.